see everything that has been approved. But that is my treasurer's report. I also did want to bring up, just because of course, everything's crashing now.
We still see it.
You still see it? All right. Well, I'm not able to stop sharing, but we did have a check that was written back last November for Commissioner Shropshire's web hosting reimbursement. So that is something that we'll be writing again with a new check number, but for the total that has already been voted on unanimously November for $156.49. But that is my treasurer's report. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to stop sharing. So if you want to take the hosting away from me, I'm not sure my laptop's going to be able to handle this.
Okay, let's see. I think I took it away from you, but let's see if it responds.
Froze too, right?
Yep, I'm kind of stuck there too.
Well, would you like to make a motion, Commissioner Linhan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this treasurer's report.
Is there a second?
A second.
A second by Commissioner Blacknell. Commissioners, can I get a voice vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes the treasury report at 5-0 with 2 absence. Is anyone online for the 5th district as we move forward? While we try and clip. And I also see here we have the new Mr. Hunter, who is from the office, our Ward 5 liaison from the mayor's office. I saw you online. Will you be able to promote him for presentation, Commissioner Moore? Or are we still frozen?
Yes, I think he should be able to present. We might hear him and not see him for just a moment here. But right now he's on mute.
Okay, I did have him on my screen. He did.
Yeah, I think he's got a rapid
There we
right
go.
now.
There's Mr. Hunter.
He's trying to join, actually.
Dominique.
Yeah, my email says Nokomis Hunter because I believe they're switching my executive email over to him. So that's probably why my name says Nokomis. But basically, yeah, my last day as Mokers was last Monday. It's been a pleasure and honor serving the Ward 5 family. Nokomis Hunter and Brittany Butler will be taking me and Malik's place. They're on a rapid right now, but I just wanted to thank you guys and introduce them and let them tell you a little bit about themselves. And I know they are just ecstatic to be able to step in and really take the torch and take the level of service for Ward 5 really to the next level. We'll obviously still be around to check in on them from time to time and guide them along the way. But this does end our journey here as Mokers. It's been a pleasure and an honor, like I said before. And without further ado, I'm going to alley-oop it to my good man, Nokomis. Let him take it from there. There he is. Lord, he's working hard. He's on his first rapid already for a fire, and he's doing a meeting. So you guys have a real diamond in the rough. I'm telling you, Nokomis is ready to hit the ground running. Like, this is your man right here. This is the guy that's really going to take it to the next level. So without further ado, Nokomis, you want to loop him in right here, man?
Mr. Moore, you see it?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to be very brief because we are on a rapid, me and my partner. So my name is Nokomis Hunter, and thanks, Dominique, for the introduction. I want to say that it is an honor, and I'm very excited to be a Ward 5 Mocha, and I look very forward to working with every last one of you guys. I'm gonna drop my cell number and email address first. Cell phone number 202-251-5049. Email is nokomis.hunter@dc.gov, which is NOKOMIS.hunter@dc.gov. I want to give you guys a few updates. I would like to begin with the mayor's had extended a public health crisis until at least December the 31st, 2020 of this year. The daily matrix can be found on coronavirus.dc.gov/reopening matrix. The daily case rate is 34.3 per 100,000 people as of 12. As of this the 5th of this month. 50% of new female cases and 40% of male cases in the past week were aged 25 to 44, with the highest proportion of new cases among adults aged 25 to 34. Work and social event led to the highest amount of exposure. Moving on to the next update is phase 2 adjustment. Non-essential, non-retail businesses are strongly encouraged to continue to telework. Limit of outdoor gathering is reduced from 50 to 25 people. Indoor gathering may not exceed 10 people. This applies to indoor home gathering as well as any indoor gathering that is not subject to any other rules. That go for restaurant and house of worship. Effective Monday, December the 14th, the maximum indoor capacity restaurant is reduced from 50% to 25%. House of worship are reduced from 100 people to 50 people or 50% of their allowable capacity, whichever is lower. Gym, private trainers, and other businesses and recreation centers must suspend all indoor group exercise class. Outdoor group exercise class can continue up to 25 people. Live entertainment pilot is temporarily suspended. Entities previously granted waiver for live entertainment pilot will be contacted about their ability to proceed with act or performance that have already been booked. Moving on to the next update, the DC Can COVID alert notification. You guys have if you guys have a smartphone, activate DC Can COVID alert notification. The sole purpose is to help stop the spread of COVID-19 and exposure. Notification system will be disabled once the pandemic reach a point that is no longer necessary. You may choose to share your information or choose not to share any personal information and still use the system privately and anonymously. Moving on to the next update, which is the $100 million bridge fund. On Wednesday, November the 18th, the Mayor Browser and Office of Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, which is DMPAD, announced the bridge fund, $100 million investment in businesses and workers grappling with the COVID-19 public health emergency in hospitality, entertainment, and retail sector. Through the bridge fund, the district will strategically invest to sustain the hospitality, entertainment, and retail industry to help mitigate the ongoing impact of COVID-19 on workers.
Lost audio.
And Nokomis, you went on mute. You on mute, Nokomis?
My apologies. Yeah, funds will divert via 4 programs. 35 million will be going towards the restaurant bridge fund.
Did it again.
Will be going towards hotel. 20 million will be going towards entertainment bridge fund, and 15 million will be going towards the retail bridge fund. Disbursement will begin with the hotel bridge fund and restaurant bridge fund are open now. The restaurant bridge fund will both begin operation in December. The entertainment bridge fund will be launched later this year. Moving on to the DCPS school update. DCPS school will open a limited number of care classroom at 29 elementary school on November. I'm gonna skip past that. I'm gonna go towards the DPW update for leak collection. The DC Department of Public Work announced that the agency will resume a vacuum leave program and begin collection on Monday, November the 9th. Collection will still occur twice in each neighborhood. This year begins November the 9th, 2020 and January 30, 2021. DPW collection schedule will remain the same. Schedule and frequently asked questions can be found at dpw.dc.gov service /service/leaf collection. I will also drop that link into the chat. When a leaf collection campaign was launched, district household service by DPW were asked to rake leaves into bags. Paper bags are no longer required for collection. Residents are asked to rake their leaves for collection to the curb or into the tree box at the front of their residence. To help ease the vacuum process, residents are also asked to keep vehicles away from the curb lane on scheduled collection day. And I'm gonna end my update there. Any questions or concerns, you guys can feel free to give me a call. Then again, my cell phone is 202-251-5049. Or if you like, you can also reach me at my email address, which is nokomis.hunter@dc.gov.
And Nokomis, I dropped both of you, Brittany's, your and Brittany's information in the chat already. So those who have access to the chat should be able to see it. They should be able to just copy and paste it and have it on file.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I thank you, Mr. Hunter.
I just wanted to say really briefly to Nokomis, thank you so much. I appreciate your help with the alley cleaning on H Place. It was a good way to get started. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Ready? Okay. I see we had Lieutenant Chapman on the line. Are you ready to present, sir?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Excuse me 1 second. All right, I'm sorry. I had some technical difficulties a little earlier, so I was trying to make sure I was able to hear what was going on. So we're trying to log in from a couple of different places. So just let me introduce myself first. I'm Lieutenant Chapman. I'm one of the newer lieutenants here at the 5th District, and I've been assigned to Sector 1, which encompasses PSA 501 and 502. So I'm new, like I said, new lieutenant here, getting my feet wet and trying to get a lay of the land and get a good grasp on the area and the crime and issues that are going on in the community. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what I have gathered at this point. And what I'd like to have is just some feedback from you. I'm looking at numbers, but again, you guys are in the neighborhoods and in these communities, so you know exactly what it is that you need. And that's important to us to be able to deal with those needs that you guys have right now. But over the last 30 to 60 days, pretty much everything is down with the exception of motor vehicle thefts and some break-ins. And actually over the within the last couple of weeks, those have been also on the decline. One of the things that we can do as a community to try and help those, the theft from autos from occurring is to advise our community members to keep, valuables out of sight, make sure that they keep their doors locked, and those little small things. If there are any areas in your community that the lighting is out, those types of things we can address through DPW and through the city, because it's important to have those, like if it's parking lots or street lights, to have those on, because the more illumination, the less likelihood of people, tampering with vehicles and also stealing vehicles. What we've done, or what I've recently done since I've been here to try to combat the theft from autos and also stolen autos, is to have increased patrols in those areas. When we have our redeployment units, we're putting them in those areas, and they tend to, those clusters of theft from autos and stolen autos appear to be closer to the metro sites and those things. But in any case, we are trying to combat those by putting more resources towards those. Again, anything that you have as a community that you can see that there's an issue, definitely reach out and provide me with that information, and we'll definitely do everything that we can do to address it. I can provide you with my phone number and email at this point, and answer any questions you may have right now.
Okay,
if you're ready to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Lieutenant Chapman, one of the things that I've just noticed in the past 2 weeks, is, part of the public health issue is the drug use, or seeing individuals with that strange, it's like all of a sudden something's new. I'm seeing folks that are that strange high, the glassy eyed, the, talking to themselves or someone else that's not there. So I've seen 2 in the last 2 weeks. Is that an increase of that kind of drug use going on? You're on mute.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. In fact, I'm recently dealing with that just today. It's actually not a new phenomenon. It appears to be either PCP or K2. And I don't know how familiar you are with K2, but the way K2 is a synthetic marijuana, and it reacts differently with different people. You can have someone that would smoke it and they have no, other than just getting a little high, they have no ill effects. But then you also have someone else that could smoke it and go into hallucinating and just to mention some of the things that you have. I had a gentleman that come in today, and we had to deal with him, and he had the same issue. He had smoked K2, and it led to a domestic violence situation. Once we got him in here, we actually had to take him to the hospital because he was hallucinating and speaking out of his head. So that is, like I said, it's not a new trend, but the issue is with K2, and one of the things that took so long for the DEA itself to address that is that K2 is constantly changing. The molecular makeup of K2 constantly changes from batch to batch, and so a person may smoke a specific brand today and it not affect them adversely, but in a week later they can smoke that same brand, but because the new molecular makeup of that brand has changed, then it adversely affects them. So that's one of the things that's going on. And just yesterday we had a couple of our officers to have a really good arrest with that. An individual was selling K2 in the Florida Avenue area, right near Florida Avenue in North Capitol. And my officers were able to see what they observed or what they thought to be a hand-to-hand. They made contact with that individual, and he had multiple bundles of K2 and also had a firearm. So that was that was a great and significant arrest, because we were able to get K2 off the street and also an illegal firearm. That individual was also had been arrested numerous times for possession of marijuana, possession of crack cocaine, and also possession of heroin for the intent to distribute. So he was a felon. So that was actually a significant arrest, and so that's what we're looking to try and do, trying to continue to combat those particular issues.
Okay, we have a question in the chat from Commissioner-elect Hoffman, and we haven't had, you're the first officer that's been on in about, Commissioner Moore, the last 3 months?
Yeah, the last 3 months.
The last 3 months, we haven't had any presentations from the MPD. So will you be continuing, or as we go to the new year, to present?
That's my goal, and I'm about trying to get a better connection between the police and the community. Going forward, I think that's pretty much the push of the department at this particular point. It's very important that we, as the department, the police department and community, link together to make these the changes necessary to make this a better community. And my pledge to you guys is to be able to be accessible to you, and also to attend these meetings so that I can get the feedback from you, bring it back to the department, bring it back to the 5D, and disseminate that information to the captains and the other lieutenants here, and the decision makers, and also the strategic planners, to be able to combat the issues that are going on right now. So yes, to answer your question, in short, it is my intention to attend these meetings. If not myself, if I'm not available, then to make another official available to attend these meetings.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a connection issue here. This is Lieutenant Small. I work with Lieutenant Chapman. I'm assigned to the same sector assigned to the midnight tour of duty. Between the two of us, we'll be able to cover the majority of the meetings that you folks may be having at any given time. We're just going to need the notice for it, and then we'll make the arrangements so that one of us, either one of us, is available to cover it, if not both. It's just a matter of timing often. And to add to the discussion you're having about the synthetic cannabinoids and the issue, one of the things that Washington, D.C. did was a few years ago, they changed the way that they approached those crimes. They had a Synthetic Abatement Act passed. What they did is they banned the class of the chemical instead of the specific drug, because that was the problem that they were having. They would change the drug every month or every 2 weeks, and then you had the problem where you couldn't enforce it again. So they changed the class so that it doesn't matter what is done to change it, the law can still be enforced on it. And in addition to the circumstances like he's talking about, where the person had a large quantity of it on him, we also have a problem with certain types of businesses that tend to sell these drugs. So folks that are in the community, when they're going out to the stores, or whether it be a corner store or a gas station, or a mom and pop type place, if they see something that they suspect to be one of these synthetic drugs, or even if they aren't sure, just contact the 5th District, and we can have some people go out and take a look at that, find out what's going on, and investigate it and handle it if it turns out to be someone who's selling these dangerous chemicals illegally.
And really quickly, I just had 2 things before we turn to a question from Ms. Diggs. One is I wanted to make sure that we had your email addresses. So if both of you could put your email addresses in the chat box before you log out of the meeting, I think that would be helpful, because right now we've been reaching out mostly to Captain Merrill. And so to have some additional folks reach out to, if you guys are going to be presenting, we want to make sure to reach out to you directly. And then the other comment is that I have a lot of concern about that parking lot next to the Food 7 on 19th and Benning. We've seen some improvements there over the past year and a half, but this is about the time of the year where we do see increased drug activity there, and that can lead to violent crime. And so anything you guys can do to pay special attention, especially through the end of the year, would be very helpful. Okay, Ms. Diggs.
Yes. Good evening. Hi, gentlemen. My name is Juanita Diggs, and I'm the president of the Langston Civic Association. So we had a meeting last week at which Captain Merrill said to us that for the foreseeable future, we will have increased police presence here on 1100 Maryland, 21st Street between Maryland Avenue and M. And we asked also that it continued on 19th and Benning Road. Are you of that same understanding?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, right now we should have a unit specifically assigned to pay special attention to that area. That unit was assigned this evening tour duty. So they will be there until the midnight tour duty when they are relieved. And so there is definitely someone out there now that I do know of.
Well, we have seen more presence than we have in a very long time, and it's really a very needed process because of the multiple shootings that have occurred. So thank you very much.
Any other questions, Commissioner Moore?
That's all I see from the public.
And I would like to make a quick statement. First off, thank you, MPD, for being here. I would ask, if you aren't able to make it, if you could just have a presentation with statistics emailed to us so that we can at least share that out to relay that information as best we can. I also would like to just make a couple claims as well about the illumination issue that you were stating, because we in Ivy City have had a lot of car break-ins. Probably was emailed about 5 separate ones and a bunch in one single night. If we could get the park on the corner of Mount Olivet and West Virginia, Lewis Crow Park, if we could get that lit up, that would be fantastic. I know that is a heavy drug use site as well as sex work. So whatever we can do, I know that is a constant concern in Ivy City. Also,
that's owned by the church that is there, correct?
Not owned by the church. That is constantly the confusion. They kind of own that little parking lot that DC Water is using right now. But that's actually owned by DC Housing Authority. And I'm having a hard time just getting them to come out and take care of the property, whether it just be mowing it. So that's a whole nother concern, but if we could get that lit up, and I know you advocating for that would be a big help for making that happen. And then also the backside of Gallaudet fence on the 1700 block of Corcoran. That's a pretty dark area where I know there's been a lot of reports of illicit behavior. It took us about 3 months of constant reporting to finally get the little strip of land between the fence and the street actually mowed and picked up. So would love to see that illuminated as well before it becomes a nuisance again.
If I can make a suggestion for that, if anybody is not using the app for 311 to start using that, I use it myself in DC, and it's a lot easier to track the requests that you're making. And if you make a request and something isn't getting done in a reasonable amount of time, you can, because of that tracking, you can get a lot more accountability for it.
Yeah,
that's been my experience personally.
Yeah, no, I wish we had the same experience. We have people reporting it on 311. I actually would recommend people turn to Twitter so that we can have people publicly accountable for when 311 or whatever agency comes out and closes the case without ever addressing it. That's been the issue a lot of times. So a lot of community members just feeling frustrated that they're doing what they're being asked to do and then it results in nothing. So please turn to Twitter if we can, community, to make sure that these numbers are publicly stated. But thank you.
All right. Any other commissioners have questions for the police officer? Okay. Well, again, we thank you for coming out and look forward to future presentations from both you, Lieutenant Chapman and Lieutenant Small.
All right, thank you for having us. I think I saw Lieutenant Small. We both have attached our email addresses inside the chat, so feel free to reach out to me. I think the gentleman who mentioned the Corcoran light issue and Mount Olive, if you could just shoot me an email of those locations, I can see what I can do from my end. To try and get some additional lighting in there. May even be a situation that if it's available, we can get a mobile lighting system over there just to have it out there for a while, and that may be a deterrent for a little bit. So until we get something more permanent done, but yeah, definitely reach out to me and email me, and I'll see what we can do from our perspective in taking care of that.
Perfect. Well, Lieutenant Chapman, again, thank you. I'm stepping down at the end of this month as commissioner, but I will also connect you with Commissioner Rhodes, who will be taking over. She'll be advocating for the same things. So if that's okay, I'll connect you on those. But yeah, 1700 block, and we also passed a resolution last month trying to encourage the city to do that as well. So I'll send that along.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you again, police officers. We'll now move on to Ward 5 Liaison, Mr. Salas Grant. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. I
Yes.
have a few brief updates. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to add a bit to Nokomis's presentation. He mentioned the mayor and the bridge fund, and that was a fund that was an extension of advocacy from the council member for Ward 5, who's also the chair of the Committee on Business and Economic Development, pushed for that funding through the Business Support Grants Emergency Act of 2020 back in July. And so working with the mayor, we were able to advocate as an office to ensure that act turned into what we now know as the Bridge Fund. And it's our hope that as many restaurants, hotels, entertainment entities, and retail companies are able to take advantage of that as possible. The council member, since taking on the chairmanship of this committee, has been committed to ensuring that everyday business people have an opportunity to do well in this city. His focus has been on the small business owner, the everyday person who takes that risk of going out into business. And so, opportunities like this one with the $100 million investment is extremely important, considering all that's happening right now with COVID-19. Also want to mention, and I'm not sure if Nokomis mentioned this or not, but recently the mayor announced the latest Green Book for fiscal year 2021. And the Green Book is a book and also a website that allows small and disadvantaged businesses to look through opportunities for doing business with the government. The government, our city is committed to a spending goal of $917 million with small and disadvantaged businesses. And again, we've got people among us who are everyday neighbors and citizens who, again, are taking those risks to be able to go out on their own in business. And we want to make sure that as a city, we are spending money with those who are certified business enterprises and small businesses here in the District of Columbia. I want to shift gears a little bit and state that we just recently celebrated Thanksgiving. As an office, we were able to distribute meals to a number of the senior facilities in Ward 5, including seniors in the Carver-Langston area. We were also able to participate in a partnership with an organization called Saving Our Next Generation, who also had a food giveaway in the Carver-Langston area. And there was actually a Washington Post write-up on that actual event and the impact of COVID-19 on people being able to get access to food. And our office also volunteered at Food and Friends recently as a team building exercise and also a way to support and advocate for awareness around organizations like Food and Friends that are providing meals for people on a day-to-day basis. This is not something that is specific to ANC 5D, but it is specific to the ward. The DC Public Libraries announced that they have now submitted a new master plan, and a part of that master plan includes addressing service gaps in the form of additional libraries. And one of the additional libraries will be one in Ward 5 in the Eckington and Edgewood area. I do not have a timeline for which fiscal year that will be constructed, but it is in the master plan to add an additional library in Ward 5. So it's our hope that with the addition of this library, many of our residents, especially our young ones, will have an opportunity to take advantage of that. Just a few more items before I wrap up. Obviously, Commissioner Lanahan, you and I have been in contact about Carmel. I am waiting for confirmation on the date for the meeting with DGS and the civic leaders in Ivy City to talk about the letter that DGS submitted to us, as well as the council member at large, Robert White, around public space opportunities for usage at Carmel. I talked to Tommy Jones briefly earlier this week, and I'm just waiting for a date for that. And as soon as we get that, we'll try to convene so that the letter can be explained and we can begin talking about what next steps are for public space usage. Chairman Lee, I'd also like to, if possible, have you give me the information on the 98-year-old woman who passed away. We would love to commemorate her and send her family a letter on behalf of the office. So if you and I can talk offline, I'd love to get her information from you. The final thing I'd like to say on a personal note for the 4 commissioners that are leaving out on this particular month, it's been my pleasure working with you all. I want to thank you all for your dedication, your patience, and your graciousness as you've served the community here in 5D. It's been great working with you all. And I know you all aren't going anywhere and you'll still be volunteering in different capacities. So look forward to seeing you around and working with you in other capacities.
Thank you, Silas. Appreciate you beating me to the question. So I'm excited to hear whenever that date is set, and it's been an honor working with you as well. So thank you.
All right.
And also thank you too, Mr. Grant.
All right.
Next on the agenda, Commissioner Moore. I skipped over the adoption of the minutes. So Commissioner.
That's on me. My computer kind of caused that whole mess. So I'm not going to share my screen this time. We do have a virtual assistant who is now taking our minutes. So this is the first month that she has finished those minutes. Again, they're hyperlinked to our agenda. They're brief. Again, we are also posting everything to YouTube now. So we do intend and I probably expect that we'll continue to live stream so that these meetings will be accessible from anywhere at any time. And that also would be supportive of those minutes, given we have that right there, video archived. So if you all had seen the minutes or are able to pull them up, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Well, commissioners, did any changes to the minutes? And did anyone see anything that needed to be changed?
Nothing from me.
Nothing.
Okay. All right, then go ahead, Commissioner Linehan.
All right. I would like to make a motion to adopt the minutes as they are.
I'll second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That passes 5-0. Now that we pretty much taken care of all the business, Commissioner Moore, consent calendar.
Yes.
Transit committee member. Could you take that?
I did. So we had 2 spots available for 5DO5 on the transit committee. At the previous meeting in November, I selected 1 committee member. And so this is my second choice, and I did have an opportunity to confirm with her, and she is happy to accept.
Okay. And also, you got the request for patio 118.
I think that is in Commissioner Linehan's area.
Yes, that is one of the many distilleries in Ivy City. That is a pretty quiet area over on Gallaudet Street, I believe. So that is, they're looking to implement a patio to hopefully allow for their business to survive this pandemic. So that has been added. And then there's also, as if you can see, 2 stipulated license requests that are in the same attachment, same owner, Las Camelas and Las Camelas Taqueria. That will be over in Union Market. So I see no issues with those as well. That's, anybody wants to pull that up, again, it's hyperlinked to our agenda. Again, my apologies.
Commissioner Linehan, you said the stipulated licenses are in Union Market?
They're not in Union Market. They're over on the 4th Street. I'm sorry. I kind of, I sometimes say Union Market when I'm talking about the entire neighborhood as it's developing. But no, that is not in Union Market. That is at 1280 4th Street Northeast.
Okay. In the, so they have, they're separate entities. They have their own interests, their own.
Yes, as I believe, there are 2 separate entrances, like 1 and 2 right next door to each other. I'm sure they'll have a path between them.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have anybody have any questions about what's on the consent calendar?
From me.
No questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the consent calendar with approval of the transit committee member, the request for patio 1-8, and the stipulated license for La Camelas and the second restaurant. Can I get a second?
I second.
The second by Commissioner Linehan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And none opposed. That passes 5-0. I believe this is also you, also Commissioner Linhan, the 411 Collective Murals.
Yes, I think if we could have somebody from 411 Collective raise their hand so that you can present.
Is this the mural that presented at the last meeting?
We tabled it. They did not present, so they
didn't have permission for the fence, the building owner. That's correct.
So this was something that they were hoping to paint underneath the bus, the DC public school buses where they're parked, which would be next to City Winery.
Yes.
I think they had also said that they were looking at other spaces around Carver Langston. And they just implemented one in Trinidad over by the, I think it's the 24/7 next to Kovacs in this little alleyway. I think that's over by you, Commissioner Shropshire. I actually just posted it on my Instagram as well. It's some amazing work. But wanted to see is Ryan available in the meeting?
I don't see anyone raising their hand. If you could, at the bottom of your screen, typically, there should be a set of options, Q&A, mute, share screen, things like that. And there should be a feature for you to be able to raise your hand if you are here from the artist group. Okay, I don't see any hands going up.
All right, well, again, it's hyperlinked in there. We can table this if you'd like. If they're not present, I just say let's table for next month.
Yeah,
yes.
I was also,
yes,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, we'll just move forward. Unless you have a question about that, Commissioner Moore?
No, I was just going to say I second the move to tape the motion that Commissioner Linehan made to table for next month. And I was just going to also make the same suggestion for the other grant request that's on the agenda tonight.
Balance interpreter, the balance interrupter?
Yes.
Okay, so both of those items will be moved for the new commissioners for the 2021 commission. All right, so now we just have which I know is not going to be tabled, the Protest Food 7 store.
No, it's not.
I don't know if it really needs to be discussed, commissioners. We all are familiar with this location, whether you live in that area or not. It's infamous, so I'd just like to make a motion that we, ANC 5D, protest the Food 7 liquor license.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make one addition, and that I also be given the authority to represent the commission in that protest.
Yes, which is really standard when it's in your ANC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to get that understanding. But we also, we need to do that anyway because the rest of us won't be here, so you'll be there. Yeah. So the motion is to protest the ABRA license for Food 7, giving Commissioner Moore 5D05 our representative for the ANC. Can I get a second? Commissioner Moore.
Second.
It's seconded by Commissioner Blacknell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Can I just ask a question?
Okay.
Like I'm familiar with Food 7, but I'm just wondering, like, have there been reports of activities that have been taking place that definitely are not supportive of community, so I mean, I'm just going to put it out there so that those who are not familiar with the establishment, Food 7, that they understand why we're about to protest their license.
Sure.
Well, I was just going to say that, yeah, that's true because we all are familiar with it as commissioners, but I don't know, I see if we have any questions, 54 residents online. So, okay, go ahead, Commissioner Moore.
Mm-hmm. So I'll just say the answer to Commissioner Shropshire's very good question is yes. That parking lot has been notorious. We have seen some improvement since we've gotten a new owner, but there's still issues with drug sales in the parking lot, with fighting, with excessive litter, with a poor maintenance of the trash in the rear of the establishment. And so there's definitely room for improvement. I think this is a situation where there are two outcomes typically in an ABRA protest, which is you go to the board and you say, look, this person has an alcohol license. That means they have added responsibility to the community. And so they need to make the following changes, including things like picking up trash on a regular basis around the building so that it's not blowing into neighbors' yards, making sure that they're not having people loitering in the parking lot to the best of their ability, and that they're actually proactively calling the police when they witness crimes and providing the police with any camera footage or anything else that they might need to solve those crimes. So I think that we have seen some progress, but we don't want to go backwards, and there's certainly still room for improvement. So
I also wanted to add that oftentimes the ANC would protest a liquor license because it gives us an opportunity to include these type of stipulations in a settlement agreement. And I'm not sure, and Commissioner Moore, you could probably speak to this, whether or not there's currently a settlement agreement in place. And so if there are things that have not been held up to in terms of the settlement agreement, it gives an opportunity for the community to revisit what those arrangements were and to try to make any additional requirements that the community would like for that organization to consider.
So yes, and this commission did vote to put a settlement agreement in place prior to my joining the commission, because this is on alcohol licenses are on a 3-year cycle. And so the year prior to my coming on board, there was a settlement agreement put in place with Food 7. And no, they have not lived up to the terms of that settlement agreement.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought we had one, but I just wasn't sure, because I know that we have a lot of settlement agreements for quite a few of the liquor stores in the area. So I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, commissioners, I repeat the motion that we ANC 5D protest the liquor license for the Food 7 store, giving Commissioner Moore as our representative for the ABRA meetings. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The motion passes 5-0.
Commissioner,
Next,
we just had the artist jump in. If we have a couple minutes just to have him present, and then we can table for a vote, if that's okay with everyone.
Well, let's do the resolution for Ivy City.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner Linhan.
Yes. So I am not again going to pull this up and share my screen. This is on the agenda and hyperlinked. So this resolution would again be about the Cromwell School and the preservation of community space. And to paraphrase what this is, it would be ANC 5D opposing the Office of Planning proposed change to the flume for the Cromwell School site at 1900 Gallaudet Street Northeast and the adjoining properties at 1355 Oakey Street Northeast and 1900 Fenwick Street Northeast. ANC 5D directs that the DC Council, with leadership from Ward 5 Councilman Kenny McDuffie and Council Chairman Phil Mendelson, to remove the flume changes prior to the final passage of the comprehensive plan. ANC 5D requests that the DC Council direct the Office of Planning to complete a small area plan for the Ivy City community to guide future development. So another resolution to help protect the Cromwell School and hopefully allow this to further preserve the space around it too.
Any questions from commissioners? Is any questions from the public, Commissioner Moore?
I don't see any from the public. Just a reminder to folks to use the raise hand function if you'd like to ask a question, or the Q&A function.
Here we go.
Okay, I do see. Okay. From Commissioner-elect Rhodes, I have questions about protesting ABRA licenses. Okay, so what is the question? Can you tell us? I will give you a moment to type here, or if you want to raise your hand and be able to speak out loud. Okay. Commissioner-elect.
Hey, everybody. That's interesting about the protest for the ABRA license. You stated that they last 3 years. So if the business don't honor the settlement agreement within that 3 years, do you have to wait until they reapply for another license, or during that 3 years you can protest?
So you cannot issue another protest until the license comes back up again. But if you have an agreement in place with them and they're violating that agreement, depending on how the agreement is set up, whether there's any type of enforcement clauses, you can either enforce those clauses or report the breach of the agreement to ABRA, and they would take over the enforcement action and decide what they thought was an appropriate measure to put in place. So it just gives you an opportunity to negotiate with the owner of the business and say, look, with added, you have some added responsibility here. How can we work together as a community and as a business owner to make sure that your business isn't a nuisance to those of us who live nearby, or worse than that, a danger?
Okay, I see. So do you go to ABRA first, or do you go to the business first?
So we're required to send a notice to the business that they're going to be on the agenda for the ANC meeting at least 7 days in advance. And so the owner of the business did receive notice. He acknowledged the notice, but he is out of the country right now. And he said that he would not be attending tonight, but that he had received the letter. And so we did notify him. And then once we voted, we'll notify him as well as ABRA of the fact that we're going to protest. And then they'll give us a series of dates to show up for negotiations with a mediator to try to help us work out an agreement on our own. And if that doesn't work out, then we would go to basically like a full-on hearing. And it works like a court hearing works. And we would try to either iron out the details of an agreement during that hearing, which would be a board order with stiffer penalties than just a regular agreement, or we would just request that their license be fully just removed, which I don't think will be the case in this instance. I think the owner, things are not perfect, but he is at least trying to make an effort. And I think we just have to put an agreement in place that has much more specific terms on what we want to see from him in the community.
Okay. I just wanted to get an understanding of the process. Now, I also support the resolution for the Cromell School. So thank you.
Full circle.
Bye.
Thank you, madam.
So with that, we go back to Commissioner Linhan.
Again, if there's no other questions, I'd make a motion to pass this resolution.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor of supporting the resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes 5-0 with 2 absences. Okay, you said that someone raised a hand for the 411 collective?
Yes.
Yes, we have Ryan Allen. I think you're on mute. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you
All
are
right.
able to share your screen.
Yes. Okay. So this is just a basic presentation of just the work that we've done in the past within the neighborhood. So we've been painting Ivy City, Trinidad for roughly, I want to say, for the major part of 5 years, but roughly around 7, 8 years. With majority of the painting going on below the youth detention center on it's kind of like an art wall that we kind of use as a practice wall. From there, this is the backside of the Trinidad, I want to say it's Circle 27 or Circle 24, right across from the boxing gym. This is where they shot a movie maybe 3 years ago. We helped out with that. This is what it originally looked like before we were able to revamp it. This is the backside once we completely changed it up. This right here wasn't paid at all. This all came out of the artist pockets, as has majority of the projects that we've done around those neighborhoods. And we even included some of the names of people from the community that have passed away. This is the sidewall of that same building. Most recently, they put a fence around this lot so people can't actually hang back there anymore. And I believe they store Metro buses or something. This is the sidewall that we completely revamped. This was it about 1.5 years ago. And then maybe 3 weeks ago, we redid that whole wall. This is the Ivy City wall, the one that we did the mural of the Cromwell School. And these are some of the members that helped out. My daughter, Graham, who also helped out on the Fix Cromwell Now message that we did 2 weeks ago. So pretty much Ivy City and Trinidad, even though we don't necessarily live directly in the neighborhood, we're pretty much just as much a part of the neighborhood. We know a lot of the residents. We know a lot of the different community leaders that have us come out and either fix up some of the walls or just revamp the neighborhood to make it more accessible for people in general. This is the Trinidad Recreation Center that we partner with DC Murals over the summer to do a campaign with. The original message that we did on Cromwell School. And this is the Trinidad Corner Store that we did the new mural on 3 weeks ago. So and also none of this has been funded. Like majority of these things have come straight out of our pockets, from the spray paint cost to the roll paint, having people come out and help. It's just all been a thing that we've done just to beautify the neighborhood so that people have something else to look at on their day-to-day, whether they're walking to the store, whether they're walking to and from work. It's not that regular gray wall that you see just passing every single street corner. It gives you a sense of life. It gives you a sense of hope, a sense of community. This was the most recent one that we've done, which went over what was previously there. So we plan on doing at the top of this street, directly to the left, there's 2 concrete walls. That's kind of the entrance to Ivy City. We wanted to do something in relation to the history, where Ivy City came from as far as the train systems and what really got the neighborhood going before more of the major changes that you kind of see now started happening. Our art studio is actually in Langdon and Carver Terrace as well, so we're always over there. The issue is finding businesses that want the art. We've walked up and down the street. We've showed our art to the business owners over there, but it doesn't seem like anybody really wants art. We've talked to DPR over on the opposite side of Everett Street, which our studio and DPR are split by the train tracks. So we've reached out to most of the businesses that have public facing walls, and no one is really with the idea of art. No one really sees art as a way to invest back into your communities, as a way to show the history of your community, as a way to give the kids an outlet other than just hanging out every day. A lot of the kids don't know that you can make a living off of art, that you can sustain your life and your family's life through art. So not only are we just out there painting, when the kids are walking by, they ask us questions, they ask if we can show them different things. We're teaching them. We're showing them how to go about different things. We're giving them resources that they can go home and look up to help them on their artistic journey. So it's not just we're artists and we're just pretty much getting paid to do a job. Northeast is our community. I grew up in Northeast. My grandmother's house was on Eastern Avenue in Northeast, right off of South Dakota. So Northeast is home for a lot of us. Majority of the members from 411 live in Northeast. So that's why we invest majorly into that community and the surrounding communities that are right in that area.
Ryan, thank you so much. Your work's beautiful. And I would say that messaging is on point. So thank you for that as well. I know that we've already tabled this. I will also take the blame on this. I let Ryan know that 8 o'clock would probably be when we'd see the time come up. So surprisingly, we were a little ahead of schedule today. So this is on me. Anyway, I do appreciate the presentation. I hope the next commission will see the benefit of this. And you were saying the site that you were hoping to do is to the left of this, where underneath the DCPS bus depot?
Yeah, so right next to the bus depot, there's two walls, both facing opposite sides of New York Avenue. We were interested in those walls, and if you know any of the business owners in Carver Langston that would be interested, please send them my way. Because like I said, we've tried and it's just not there. We've done everything, even from offering just free murals, as long as we're able to control the subject matter, but nobody is with it. I don't know what we have to do to kind of shift the messaging or shift their viewpoint on it, but I think it needs to happen.
Well, I think you have the commission here that would definitely be able to spread the word. So Commissioner Moore, I know you know Carver Langston well as Commissioner Blacknell. So the request is heard. We'll see what we can do with that. But I do want to say thank you, Ryan, for your presentation and jumping on.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to mention that where you saw the Crummell School painted where it said Ivy City on the other side, that was 1-8 Distillery, right where that patio is probably being requested. So you can see there was also some wheat pasting on that. Did not survive the weather, but it's beautiful work. I wish the school looked like that.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, thank you. So now we'll move on to 1638 Trinidad Avenue.
We have one question in the Q&A box.
Okay.
From Matal Lyons Warren. Where can we find out more about this organization and the murals that have been done? I don't know if Ryan's still on.
On our Instagram 411 Collective, that has majority of the work that we've done and some of the community organizations that we've partnered with.
I don't see any other questions. And no raised hands. Okay.
All righty. So do we have somebody from 1638 Trinidad Avenue, BZA?
If you're here.
First, I'm going to introduce that. So when we had our ANC meeting back in October, I think it was, that we had a presentation about this project. And since then, I've had an opportunity to invite the property owner of 1638 and 1644 to engage in some discussions with the zoning committee. They came and presented at the zoning committee. Then they also had opportunities to meet individually to just discuss their concerns and also to talk about any ways that they could come to an agreement on either supporting or not supporting the project. So just as a reminder that this project is currently a 2-level family home, and it actually is requesting 3 exceptions or special exemptions. One is a conversion of existing residential building to an apartment home. And then the second is removal of existing rooftop architectural element. And the third is to remove an existing conforming side yard. So I will turn it over to, I think there's Emily Botcher is on mine. And then also, I don't know if Emily, are you presenting? Okay, so Emily, I think is going to present some updates to their proposed project.
Yeah.
And any other thing that you want to share.
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to hear from us again. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can, I'm going to try to share my screen. It says I'm not able to. Host disabled participant.
Let me give you the authority to share your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and you should be able to share now. Does anyone else? I saw you had someone else with you. Does he need to share as well?
I don't believe he needs to share.
Okay.
We'll start with me. If we need to expand, we can do that. But I think I'm the only person who needs to share at the moment. So so yeah, thank you for that introduction. This is 1638 Trinidad Avenue Northeast. On the left of the screen, you can see photos of the existing property. So it's the brown building. And to the right is the existing site plan. So you can see that there's a walkway up to the building, and then there's a kind of a side yard. It's almost 6 feet. It's not quite 6 feet. It's a little less than that. And then the backyard, and you can see that the neighboring building, you can kind of see it in the site plan as well as up in this photo. It comes back 10 feet beyond the rear of the building that's currently on the site, as is allowed per zoning. So I've got 2 site plans here. Initially, as we heard, the project was, we were requesting to fully eliminate the side yard, and then go 10 feet back from the adjacent property, add a story, and we're converting to three units. So the upper floor addition and the rear extension are by right development, but the conversion to 3 units and the eliminating the side yard are the items we're asking for special exceptions for. The developer on the property has been in communication with the next door neighbor who owns actually these 2 lots and lives in the home here. And after some discussion with them, and as well as taking into account what we think OP would be supportive of, we're proposing now a 3-foot setback from the property line. So instead of being right on the property line, the building would be set back 3 feet from the property line where it joins this neighbor on this side. The neighbor also had some concerns about the placement of the mechanical units. Originally, we had them placed right on the property line here. Unfortunately, we can't, based on DCRA's current enforcement, we are not allowed to put it on the roof because those 2 mechanical units belong to cellar and first floor units, so they can't be on the roof. So we've moved them away from the property line. We're showing a little bit over 8 feet from the property line to try to give a little bit more space to that, to the owner on that side without also impacting the owner on the other side. And then basically, in terms of what we're doing with the facade, it's very similar. Basically, you can see on the left, we had what we originally were proposing, and on the right is what we're proposing now. So it's basically the same concept, just narrowed a little bit. to give that 3-foot setback on the side. Same thing in back. An additional request that we had from the neighbor next door was to increase the height of the parapet up top where there's a roof deck. They were hoping to get it to be more of like a screening wall. Unfortunately, due to the zoning regulations, the tallest we can make it is 4 feet, but we are showing it at the maximum, which is 4 feet. And then I believe the final concern that the neighbor had was particularly with this window over here in the living room. They were asking if we could move that window forward. So that has been moved forward. In the proposed drawing, it's been moved forward toward the front of the building. And some of the other windows have moved around a little bit because the floor plan has had to adjust. And then this final sheet shows, again, on the left, what we originally proposed, and then on the right, what it would look like with a 3-foot side setback. And that's actually all I think I need to present, but obviously here to answer any questions that anybody might have.
So we do have a question in the Q&A from the chair of our zoning subcommittee. I just lost it, but basically I'll just sum it up. His question was why the HVAC condensers are not allowed.
I can read it, Seidel, if you'd like for me to.
Go for it.
Can you expand on why DCRA doesn't allow all the HVAC condensers on the roof? I've seen many condo projects in the neighborhood where all the condensers are located on the roof. Was there a building code change?
There was not a building code change, but as DCRA, if anybody works with DCRA and submits permits there with any frequency, you'll know that they just kind of change their enforcement on a regular basis. So something that was allowed last year might not be allowed this year. The specific reason is that those 2 units that are on the ground belong to Unit 1 and Unit 2. And those 2 units don't have rooftop access. So in order to make sure that the units can be accessed for service, DCRA does not want them on the roof. Previously, what they had allowed was to establish an easement through the 3rd unit so that there would be the easement from a public space to where those mechanical units were located on the roof. They've decided that they don't like that anymore. So for this project, because there's not a common route of access up to the roof, we can't put those 2 mechanical units up there. The unit for the mechanical unit for the 3rd unit is on the roof.
And just a reminder for folks, if you have a question, if you could please put it in the Q&A box. That way it's easier to track, or use the raise your hand function so we can call on you. So we do have another question from Kristen Thompson. Is the newly proposed 3-foot setback walkable for residents?
It's still private property, so it wouldn't be like a walkway that anybody would be able to use. It's just giving a little bit more light and air to the neighbor and to this property as well.
Okay, I don't see any additional raised hands or questions.
So I have a question. So can you go to the image where it had the windows along the side of the house?
This one?
Yes. So from my understanding from the communications that were had between Brian and the adjacent neighbor, Antonio, that's a significant amount of windows on that property, along the property line.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest concern I think that was expressed by the adjacent neighbor was the impact on privacy and use and enjoyment of his property, given that there are so many windows along that property line. So I think that one of the things that Brian indicated was you know, he identified that one window that's there that I see that's been adjusted, but it doesn't really address or mitigate the other one, you know, the issue with all the other windows on the property line.
Yeah,
So,
I believe Brian's here. He might be able to speak to that a little bit more. The information I got was to move the window forward. There may have been some additional conversation that I was not party to.
Okay, I do see Brian. I'm elevating you to a panelist so that you can share. And then we did have a raised hand from Antonio Jones with a question, so he'll be next. Brian Craddock, you are able to speak.
Yeah, so with the windows, my understanding was when we were looking at the windows, a specific window we were talking about that we moved forward was right in the area where he was planning to work on his vehicles, and so that's why we were moving it out of that specific location.
Okay, all right, Mr. Jones, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think he misunderstood from the beginning of the house to where that second and third window is at is where I work on all my vehicles. It's no different. So it still would be some kind of problem with me or the new neighbor, because from that first window on back is where I work on my vehicles, not back by the stairwell or the back ending of the house. That's the patio area.
Yeah. Any response there for Mr. Jones?
I mean, I'm fine with relocating that window. It's just when we measured it out, we looked at where the area was that you were planning on working on the truck, and so that's why we moved it to where we did. I'm totally fine with relocating this. Yeah.
Okay, and we have another question here. Did you want to say something before we got the next question?
Oh no, I'll let you continue first.
Okay, we've got a question from Desiree W. Also on the windows. In fact, it appears they added an additional window, but they moved the window and added an additional one.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Again, I think there was a misunderstanding about what the specific concern was. As Brian said, we can certainly move that front window. And yes, we can certainly move the front window.
Okay, that's all. Actually, here's another question, but Commissioner Shropshire,
yeah.
This is Desiree following up. If the concern was too many windows, why add more? So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, again, I think I apologize. I think there was a miscommunication on what the concern was. I understood it to be the exact location of the window that was the problem, not the amount of windows. So, you know, we can obviously reconfigure that to better meet the neighbor's needs.
So I know, thanks, Emily. I think that another thing that, because I was present for the conversations that Brian and Antonio had. So one of the other items that were, I think, proposed or brought up was the option to put a privacy fence, you know, along that line, because there's so many windows there. I think that the biggest concern that I heard was the issue or impact on privacy, you know, because it's so close to the property line, given the special exemption that's being requested. So maybe Brian can speak to that. I'm not sure if he addressed that with you, Emily, or not, so.
Yeah, so Emily, the question is, are we able to put, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're still able to speak, but I think the question was, are we able to put a 6-foot privacy fence in the front yard area? I just haven't seen that done before, and I don't know whether there's anything that regulates that.
I believe we can put a face-on line, 6-foot fence all along the property line. I don't know, going into public space, I'm not sure that that's going to be allowed, but certainly up to the front of the building.
Okay. So I guess I would ask, did Emily or Brian have any other things that you wanted to share, or does any of the other commissioners have any comments or feedback?
I have one comment, and I don't know if I expressed this at the meeting where I was on, but the architectural element, as you see, these 4 houses are unique on Trinidad Avenue, and you're going to change the front with the changing the height of the building on the front, and to the front right. No, you're going to change this, but to do the side by side with the connecting house.
Yeah.
Right there at the bottom right hand corner.
Yes.
I would not like to see that happen. I'd like to see a setback, keep the original roof line and the 3rd floor be set back so we can't see it from the street, or so we can keep the same roof line. I know possibly you will see part up on the street, but keep maintaining the same roof line across the 2 homes. And one of the reasons why, because also these kind of projects won't provide affordable housing in the neighborhood, and that's what we need, more affordable housing than luxury housing. We keep getting more luxury units on Trinidad Avenue. So we still need some affordable housing so we can sort of maintain the continuity of the neighborhood, so we can have keep our diverse population. Only comment that I have. So I wouldn't be in support of this design here again.
I also wanted to just state that one of the other things that I highlighted to Brian was, and Emily, I don't know if Brian shared this with you or not, but the devaluing of the adjacent property, by having the windows so close or on the property line. I know you're proposing 3 feet away from the property line. So, but thinking about the future residents of the condo that you're building, the 3-unit building that you're building, they would not, and I'm sure would definitely appreciate having their windows and out the space. But let's think about this like in the future, if Mr. Antonio decided that he wanted to develop, or another developer develops his property as he decided to sell or something, then would that pose, what type of issues would that pose for someone who wanted to do the same by building 3 feet from the property line? So that was something that I posed to Brian, and expressed that, those were concerns that I know that the zoning committee, like we had some conversations about that as well.
Sure, I think that's a reasonable concern. My only, what I would say is we do a lot of work in the city. There's a lot of places where there are windows this close to property lines, and people build next door, and it's not probably the best view, but it's better than no view. So in terms of the people who live in the apartments, I would think that they would prefer to have windows there than no windows, regardless of what gets built next door.
Yeah, and also I'd just like to mention that with the 3-foot setback, we also then these are no longer at-risk windows, so it's not something that would have to be closed up if the neighbor were to build on their property. I believe, Emily, if that's incorrect, please correct me.
That's correct, yeah.
I just wanted to give a quick reminder that we need to be mindful of the time here. We're about 8:30, 8:37.
Any other questions from commissioners? And Commissioner Moore, I see 2 more questions in the chat. Is that?
I see. I've got a comment. I've got comments here. And just a reminder, you guys, if you could put any questions in the Q&A rather than the chat so I can keep track of the answers. From Janet, the homes in our neighborhood are all right next to each other and windows are everywhere. I think it's unreasonable to expect too much privacy from our neighbors. I like being able to say hi to my neighbors from my porch. And then from Kristen Thompson, as a resident of 1636, the attached building, our building has a larger setback from our neighbor, a tall privacy fence, and less windows on the side. I am not sure that I understand the need for so many windows.
So 1636 would be the adjacent house
The
also, and
attached.
that's a 3-unit condo without a pop-up also. So they did, in that design, they did achieve a 3-unit building without adding the top level.
Yeah, I think, you know, I know that Brian can speak maybe a little bit more to the addition of the third level. A comment that we get a lot from ANCs is that they want to see family-sized units. They don't like to see the one bedrooms or sometimes even 2 bedrooms. So the goal was to make 3 units that can be used comfortably by a family. And I mean, that's at least one reason that they are larger.
But they also should be affordable to a family also. Just the larger units. I mean, there's units on Trinidad Avenue that are this size without the pop-up, and they're actually they're roommate setups. We
Sure,
have
I do want to point out though, I understand the concern about portability. You know, these aren't going to be capital A affordable units by any means, but they're going to be significantly more affordable than any single family home would be in this neighborhood. If we were to sell this building as it is, you know, it's certainly going to be within reach of more people than the single family home.
So what price point would that be?
I can't speak to the selling price point. Brian might be able to weigh in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to reevaluate, you know, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to state too, is that we've really made a lot of adjustments to this building to try and accommodate our neighbor, you know, and so, I mean, I would just like to consider that. We brought the back, originally we were proposing it to the property line and we brought it back 3 feet, which is obviously a lot of square feet, and just trying to accommodate that. And obviously, you know, we do need the neighbors' support for approval, but you know, it is, I hope that I've come across as trying to accommodate the neighbor as, you know, as much as possible. So, yeah, right now I don't have a specific number for you for each of these units off the top of my head right now.
So I'd like to know just one last word. I'd like to know from Mr. Jones, like what is his perspective of this, and is he supportive or non-supportive? You know, we'd like to hear from you.
And Mr. Jones, you are able to speak. I saw you raising your hand, but you're not disabled.
I'm just having a problem with it because I don't want to depreciate my value. You know, then when we was measuring it with Miss Keisha, he went from my fence. I'm already 2 feet off the fence line. When the surveyor come out, the flag is on his side of the land. But he want to go from through the fence to, excuse me, through the fence to where my fence starts, and then come 1 foot off where the flag is at. That's not 3 feet. That's only a foot.
No, that's a change. So from where you see that flag, it would be 3 feet back from that. So it's quite a bit further than back than any, because you had asked me to come back 2 feet, but after discussing it with Emily, the planning committee had stated that it needed to be at least the Office of Planning, had stated that it needed to be at least 3 feet, and so we actually came back a foot further than you had asked me to.
When we was out there that day, you measured from my fence. You didn't measure from the flag.
Right. So I was measuring from your fence to the flag, which was currently 2 feet. And then we had talked about.
One more foot and said that was 3 feet.
I'm sorry?
Then you went another foot and said that's your 3 feet. Your 3 feet should start where that flag is posted at.
Right. So that was when we were talking about coming back 1 foot, and it would have been 3 feet from your fence. But now I'm actually coming 3 feet back from my property line. So that flag that we saw, it's coming 3 feet back from that. So it's much further back than we had even ever looked at before.
Sounds like it would be about 5 feet off the fence.
Yeah, correct.
Actually, okay, but I guess we should use the metric from the property line.
Right, which it'll be 3 feet from the property line, yeah, or approximately 5 feet from the fence is what we were looking at the other day.
Okay. All right. And then we just have one last request from Anna Roblin. Can Brian give an estimate for the price between what and what?
I mean, the units are different sizes now. So this change occurred since Friday. So I'd have to look at the square footage and see exactly where we're at from this point.
All right. So that's all I have from Q&A.
Well, on the prices, the condos up the street that's going up towards Queen Street, they were approximately, I think they sold for like $600,000 a piece. That large unit that was just completed in the past year, and it's completely sold out. They went for about $600,000 a piece. I don't know the sizes of them, but if you are on Trinidad Avenue, right on that sign, before you get to reach those homes, you'll see 2 homes connected to the last set of row houses with the addition.
So I just want to jump in and say, I don't think I got the answer whether or not it was a support or, because I really do weigh heavily, like what does the resident consider? So Mr. Jones, I don't know if you have enough information to make your definitive statement in terms of whether or not you support or don't support the project. Because what I think would be helpful is for us to take a vote, but we would need to have that information to inform our vote.
And Commissioner Shropshire, just to I guess clarify, is if Mr. Jones, if you're able to speak still, if that measurement is 3 feet from the property line, like the gentleman is stating, would you be supportive of this design?
Thank you for restating.
My main thing is not losing none of my property value. My main thing is not losing anything. So by doing that, he's coming over closer. I can build the same distance that he did on my property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this.
If you were developing your property, you can build up to your property line.
And that wouldn't cause any conflict or interest when I decide to do that with these new neighbors.
I mean, to be fair, if this happens many years down the road, zoning laws do change, but as of right now, this wouldn't impact your ability to do any construction at all on your property.
Then I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, Commissioner Shropshire, I will follow your lead, given this is in your SMD.
So my question is, have these new designs been loaded to the BZA case?
They have not been uploaded. I literally just finished it right before we jumped on this call. So,
and what happened to the sketches of the building? I forgot the term you use. As is.
Matter of right.
Yeah, matter of right. Have they
Sorry.
showed you anything for that?
We do, I did do some drawings for that. I can pull it up. What the matter of right massing is for the building. Let's just go.
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I mean, if we're all okay with it, is there? I mean, do we need to go through the?
Well, yeah, we do want to see them. I think that's something that Commissioner Lee asked for the last time that we met. He wanted to know what would the matter of right property look like.
Okay.
So matter of right would look, it's about, matter of right would be not reducing or eliminating the side yard that exists. The side yard that exists is about 5'11". So it look like this. And then this actually is a design where we're showing keeping the rooftop element.
And that third floor is set back.
Yeah, it's set back about 3 feet. It would still be very much visible from the front.
Right, but you would keep the architectural element of the adjoining house.
Okay. I like that one. I'm sorry, I might have spoke out before I even seen this, but I like that one a lot better than the other one.
Can we put the two side by side to show what the two look like? I mean,
yeah, I can do that.
And commissioners, while you're looking at that, the other set of homes up the street, it's being constructed right now. Were you aware of that, Commissioner Shropshire?
No.
It's been, they've already demolished the home. They kept the front. The other two.
Oh, you mean that is at 1632? I think it is. It's either 1630, but
yeah. And that's so one of the things, when we start approving these things, it's only 6 homes. Mr. Jones owns one and his neighbor owns one. There's only 6 homes of this style on Trinidad Avenue. That's one of the reasons why I was really trying to maintain the architectural fronts, because they're unique for the Trinidad area. I mean, I know we're not a historical district, but these homes are historical.
No, I'm not in support.
Which one is the by right?
The one on the left, where the existing side setback is to remain.
Okay. And I just want to give a reminder on time here.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so
So Commissioner Sharper, I don't have any more questions, commissioners. But we do want to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So being that, I mean, so what did you say, Antonio? I think I heard you say something earlier.
It's supposed to buy right.
What did you say about the by right? I'm sorry.
I would support that one.
The by right.
The buy right.
So Commissioner Shropshire, you want to make a motion?
Okay, so being that Emily just showed the by right project, and that is, the one that is without the special exemptions, and Tony just said that he would support the by right. That would mean that that would not be in support of the exemption. So I'm going to move that we.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize. We still need the special exception to go to 3 units. It would just be not requesting the side yard relief and not requesting the rooftop element waiver.
Okay.
And might I also say one, I mean, this is because of the aesthetics of the building now that we're opposed to the side yard, and we're only opposing because of the way it looks. So we like the by right, the way it looks better. Because if I understand correctly, it's okay with the side yard, but the neighbor's only opposing because of the way it looks.
Well,
So I can only speak for my observation, but what I observed is that if you do by right, then you could put whatever number of windows you want to have along there. It's the issue of, having a closer distance to the actual property line where it adds more issues about privacy or impact of privacy. And I guess, since Tony said he likes it by right, he could speak to why he liked it.
well,
Exactly
in essence of time, I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, in essence of time, if he supports the by right.
I mean, but 2 feet is changing the difference in the privacy. I mean, I don't know.
So I guess I think that in the essence of time, I think it would be helpful for us to take a vote, and definitely I will participate. I'll attend I'll attend the hearing, and I'm sure more of these discussions will come out. So I don't want to delay us any longer because we spent a lot of time discussing it. So
I just have one request. If we could go exemption by exemption.
Yes. So the first exemption is, thanks for that, Commissioner Moore. This first exemption is request number 1 to convert an existing residential building to an apartment house. So that would be 3 units to exceed the 2 units that are allowed as a matter of right. So I would, based on what I've heard, I would move to support the special exemption to convert the current existing building to a 3-unit building.
And I'll second that motion. So
it's been moved and seconded. Can the commissioners give me a vote by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Blacknell, is she?
Lose Commissioner Blacknell.
That was 4 ayes.
That was 4 ayes. I don't see Commissioner Blacknell, so I think we lost her.
Okay, so that would pass at 4, with 3 commissioners being absent.
Okay, 4-0-0. So the second is special exemption number 2, removal of existing rooftop architectural element.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, I move to support. I guess I'm moving to support the removal of existing rooftop architectural element.
And I'll second that motion. Commissioners, you ready to vote?
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
I oppose. So is that 3-1?
3-1.
3-1-0.
Okay.
Okay, special exemption request to remove the existing conforming side yard. I'll make a motion to not support that exemption.
I'll second that motion.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Commissioners, are you ready to vote?
Yes, aye.
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 Okay, so we have voted on all 3 exemptions, and this is what we will report on in our report. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tony.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a presentation from City Block Health. Are they available?
Okay, if you could just raise your hand and I can promote you to a speaker. Okay. All right. Brandon, are you from City Block Health?
Is this going to be a letter of support or just a presentation, right? This
was something Commissioner Blacknell wanted to add. The way it was explained to me is that they are looking for a certificate of need, so they be asking for a letter of support for that certificate of need.
And we had heard from them before, correct?
I don't believe so, no.
No, we didn't. Where are they located?
The CON, the last CON we did was for the new Caremore and Heckinger Mall.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Brandon, you are able to speak if you just want to unmute yourself. Okay, there you go.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. And am I able to present?
Yes, you are.
Oh, perfect. 1 second. Am I sharing? No.
And commissioners and Mr. Baptiste, if you could be concise, because we're losing our audience.
No, I got it. I'll actually, I'm just not able to pull it up, but I'll actually just speak to the slides if that's okay. So thank you for the opportunity to present to you all. My name is Brandon Baptiste. I'm joined with some of my colleagues here, Stephanie DeFazio, our corporate counsel, and Deshaun Groves, who is our community partnerships director. And we're here to talk about City Block, but also request a letter of support in response to our recently submitted certificate of need. So City Block is a value-based provider of integrated primary care, behavioral health, and social care. And we provide services for complex patient populations, predominantly focused on Medicaid and also our dual eligible population. Dual eligibles are essentially those members who would qualify for Medicaid and Medicare. And so our primary goal is really to do what we can to improve quality and patient satisfaction, for the members that we're actually intending to serve. Our model is really more so of a neighborhood approach where we partner with various community organizations to provide, wraparound services to members in need. We started off in 2017 in Brooklyn, New York, and have developed several hubs around the East Coast corridor, Massachusetts, Connecticut, North Carolina, as well as DC, launching in this past October the 1st, in partnership with Care First. And so we are in partnership with Care First to manage adults with special healthcare needs. In terms of context, these are patients who have traditionally utilized the emergency department as a means for managing their chronic conditions. Many of these patients have multiple chronic conditions, have several inpatient stays as well as readmissions. And so our goal is to do what we can to keep those patients out of the hospital, but also providing services to address all social needs. So housing, transportation, food shortages are also a part of the focus for City Block as well. And so the intent behind the certificate of need is to enable City Block to be able to provide primary care, behavioral health, and substance abuse services within the district. And so our model of care is over the last 6 weeks or so, we have been hiring, various social workers, community health partners, and case managers. Many of our staff actually come from, various wards within the district and have been, pretty influential with having already existing relationships with many of our members. City Block also has a anti-racist component as a part of their mission. And so in addition to serving our members, we also have a big focus on making sure that our staff is well and connected to, what's happening in our environment. The other component is that many of our staff are actually trained in crisis management as well to be able to address any member needs. The community care perspective is that, our goal is to really be more of a buffer to the primary care and behavioral health infrastructure that exists in the district in providing 24/7 coverage. Many of our providers have access, are very limited evening and overnight, as well as 24-hour coverage. And that's something that we would be able to provide. It's something that we're currently providing on the outreach perspective. And the other component is that we do have a population health infrastructure that we've been able to operationalize via Common. We are fully integrated with DC's Health Information Exchange so that we know when members are presenting into the emergency departments and are better able to ensure a smooth transition in managing that member's care. So as you may know, all persons requiring to are proposing to develop a new healthcare service in the district are required to submit a certificate of need. Through SHPTA, we have submitted our application this past November, and over the last several months, we've been meeting with various ANCs and community organizations to not only talk about City Block, but also develop relationships and requesting additional content via letters of support that can support our application. The things that we're doing today really consist of case management, addressing social needs. We're working with all of our members to not only engage them, but also connect them to primary care physicians. It's important to note that 60% of our members do not have any existing relationships with PCPs in the district. Many of them, the 60% have not seen a PCP over the last 12 to 18 months. And so there's a huge need to not only reconnect patients, but also get those who have not traditionally been involved connected to the right resources. And as I also mentioned, we are doing what we can to address the social determinants as well, connecting patients to housing, food, transportation, and all of those needs that are traditionally thought to have fallen outside of the traditional healthcare setting. And the goal post certificate of need is to really be able to focus on providing 24-hour coverage and longitudinal primary care and behavioral health services. So with that, I will pause for any questions.
Sure. So I have a few questions. So you're providing this service across the city, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So are there any specific wards where you have the most of your clientele or spend the majority of your time?
Yes. So the majority of our members actually fall within Ward 7, 8, and 5. And so we have, the goal is eventually to actually develop a hub in the way that we have in other markets. And we've been looking at opportunities to be able to do that within Ward 7 and 8. And we've been really focused on developing those linkages and relationships with the FQHCs, community health centers, and also providers in those areas. But the majority of our patient population from a member's perspective, adults with special healthcare needs fall within 7 and 8.
And you would say maybe what, like 60, 70% of folks are coming from 7 and 8, and how much from 5?
Yeah, I think it's about, I think there's probably like 20% that is coming from Ward 5, a little over 50% for Ward 7 and 8. The majority of our membership is actually 4,700 members, and I think it's around 1,800 that actually come from Ward 7 and 8.
Okay. And then what insurance do you accept?
So we accept
I'm
Medicaid.
sorry, inside of your, I forget what it's called, but you know what I'm asking you here.
So we're only only contracted with CareFirst for Medicaid. And so right now we're only serving those adults with special healthcare needs through CareFirst Medicaid. Okay.
Okay.
Our intention is we started off with CareFirst, but our intention is to work with all the payers and all the Medicaid payers, and we've since reached out to those groups as well.
Okay. And then my last question was, you're asking for this certificate of need in the primary care area? Is that the specific area or in urgent care?
So it would be primary care, behavioral health, and substance use. But we wouldn't necessarily be an urgent care facility. However, we would be working with existing urgent care specialty networks, et cetera. We started those conversations with many of the acute care facilities in the district. And so the goal is to work in partnership with these organizations and really serve as a buffer in providing that 24/7 coverage when many of these facilities are not open.
I have a question. And where are your facilities located?
So right now we don't have a facility so everything that we're doing now is virtual because we don't have a certificate of need. So technically we're not able to provide any clinical services in the district. So in other markets, we do have, hubs. Our goal is to eventually have a hub that is more brick and mortar. But right now, all of our services are currently being provided virtually.
So you don't have any brick and mortar locations online or scheduled to come out? Any locations particularly you're going to be looking to set up?
Not yet, because we don't have a certificate of need approved for that. So we can't provide any clinical services, but the goal would be within the next, I would say, 6 to 9 months to, have a brick and mortar space. But, we wanted to get the certificate of need approved to be able to provide clinical services before actually doing that. In the meantime, we have been actually, and it goes to Commissioner Moore's question earlier around, looking at various spaces that are connected in Ward 7 and 8, where the majority of our population is located, so that we could maybe co-opt or partner with existing organizations that are providing like behavioral health services, for example, or even community organizations that we know our members have a really big footprint or need for. And so that work is actually underway. However, it will probably be more of a longer term strategy in 2021.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other questions?
In terms of partnering with other providers besides, or other payers besides Care First, have you taken any formal steps to make that happen? I know you said there have been some outreach, but is it a letter or a phone call?
Well, we've actually had some conversations with the other payers. We've actually, and I don't know that we have any concrete like contracts or, but I know those conversations are happening. And so, we wanted to dedicate the majority of the time, obviously, to make sure that we launch. And so the last 8 weeks or so have really been focused on the launch following the October 1st go live. Now that we are live and we have the majority of our staff in place, we are, more apt to kind of expand to serve broader population groups. So that work is happening.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then we have one question in the Q&A. Commissioner-elect Rhodes, is there a reason why you're not offering much in Ward 5?
Well, so we are working in Ward 5. Just today we had a really good conversation with Providence. Providence actually has 8% of our members. And so we are working with all providers across the group, all of the FQHCs. We have, had outreach, and Care First, our partner, is actually facilitating those arrangements because we want to be, introduced, and we also don't want to take away, any existing provider relationships that exist for patients. So, but that work is actually happening. So we are meeting with all of the providers in the various wards. We have had some meetings as of this morning, and are continuing to develop those provider relationships.
Okay. All right. And this will have to be our last question from Matal Lyons Warren. How many staff members live in Wards 5, 7, and 8?
So I actually have that analysis. We did it for a couple of other ANCs. So I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I can say that we did that analysis recently, so I can forward that to you. But a lot of our staff have actually been hired from Ward 7 and 8. I just don't know the numbers offhand.
All right, so I'll keep an eye out. If you could send that breakdown to our overall ANC account, and that's 5d@anc.dc.gov. That would be helpful. So just in the interest of time, you're asking for a letter in support of your certificate of need?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a hearing date?
I think it's set for January the 20th, and we are able to accept letters. Oh, sorry, January the 21st. and we are able to accept letters of support until December the 31st.
Okay.
And I can send you additional information on that as well.
Sure. Okay, so
Okay,
I'm
thanks
ready.
everyone for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. So in absence of Commissioner Blacknell, I'd like to make a motion to support the certificate of need for city block.
A second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes 4-0 with 3 absence. Okay, thank you, Mr. Baptiste. Next on our agenda is the PUD update for 1701 8th Street Northeast. Is that you, Commissioner Moore?
It is, and if Mike is on the line, if you'll raise your hand. If not, we can come back to this. We can table this for the January meeting if Mike's not here.
Okay. Did he raise his hand?
I do not see a raised hand.
All righty.
Nope. So I move to table for the January meeting.
So called. 1301 presentation. That is 1301 West Virginia Avenue, Commissioner Shropshire.
Yes.
Are they available? And what's their hearing date?
Is that Zachary
It's
Williams?
the end. Their hearing date is at the end of January, so it would be essential for them to present now so that we have an opportunity to hear it. And then I'm sure they would return in January, hoping for a vote.
Can you, there we go. You elevated them.
Yes.
Hey, go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Good evening to everyone. Thank you for putting us on your agenda earlier this evening. I appreciate it. I know it's late, so we'll be quick. We already had a chance to present to the committee, and we were asked to provide a presentation to the full ANC, even though we still have another month or so till our hearing. We wanted to go through some of our thoughts and get your feedback as well. Understanding that there may be some comments and other feedback that we want to make sure we have time to try to incorporate. I want to just make a quick note at the owner and applicant, Matt Medvine, also may have some points to add that are important, and I think that he has his hand raised as well. I don't know if it's possible to promote him.
I see him here, and he is promoted to a panelist. Give it just one moment.
Right. I have a brief presentation. If it's okay with everyone, I can share my screen.
You are able to share your screen.
Okay. Okay, hopefully everyone can see this. So very quickly, my name is Zach Williams. I'm a land use attorney and I'm the agent for the applicant in this case. This is an application for a project at 1301 West Virginia Ave Northeast. And this is a snapshot of the zoning map, just to orient everyone. This is the RF1 zone across from Gallaudet University at the corner of Neal Street and West Virginia Avenue Northeast. This is the survey of the property, and I showed this only to highlight the sort of unique shape and orientation of the lot. It's a corner lot, as I said, but it's oddly shaped in that the frontage on West Virginia Ave is considerably longer and wider than the lot, the rear boundary of the lot, the alley. And we'll explain why we think that makes a difference for our case. Bottom line, it makes the lot appear a lot bigger than it actually is from the actual street. This is the current condition of the property. And you can see there's a traditional row home structure there, and then significant undeveloped private green space. It's also part of the private area of the lot, the green area that you can see there. This is the back of the property, looking at the property from the alley as well, and you can see that there was an addition that was added here to the house at some point in the past. There's still considerable rear yard available for additional development. The relief that we're requesting, it's really twofold. One is to convert the house to a apartment house, similar to the project you heard earlier tonight. The difference here is that we would be asking for 5 dwelling units. And I'll explain why we're asking for 5 rather than 3. The lot is about 3,600 square feet, but as I said earlier, it appears to be quite a bit larger than that. It functions as a much larger lot than that because it's a corner and it's sort of an oblong shape with the larger part of the lot at the sort of usable front rather than at the rear. The proposal is to have 5 units, one of them being an affordable housing unit. And the importance of the 5 is that, as I'm sure you all know, with the zoning regulations, once you get to 4, you're required to do an affordable housing unit. Looking at the economics of the project, and the applicant can speak to this, we were not in a position to do 4. So it's either 3 or 5. And the way that we looked at this is we understand that there's a push for affordable housing in the neighborhood, and we're able to deliver an affordable unit here if we have 5 total. In addition to that, because we have a significant amount of proposed floor area, we're able to provide family-sized units. So we'd have 3 3-bedroom units and 2 1-bedroom units. And we thought that might be something that the community would be interested in here as well. The other aspect of the relief that we're seeking is a penthouse. This is just for access to the roof. This is just a stair to access the roof. Because we're in a row home, semi-detached, we're required technically to get a special exception for that. And we'll show you that a little bit later here in this presentation. Here's the rendering of the proposed project, and what you generally see here is an extension of the existing row home structure, basically taking that roof line and putting it just 1 level up, same materials, and then a side extension to the side as well as the rear, maintaining the front porch roof, not needing to make a change there, not needing to request relief to alter that porch roof, keeping that original feature of the house as it is. This is a little different angle, kind of a bird's eye view of the project. This shows the extension, the additions that we're proposing. It also shows the penthouse, which is just basically a stairway up to the small roof deck there at the top of the project. This gives you a little bit better vantage point of what we're proposing and how the overall project would look from the corner there of the lots. So there's been some question about the rear extension, and everything about this expansion is by right, except for the rear expansion, which goes about 2.5 feet beyond the 10-foot limit that we have here. And there's been some question about whether we really need to do that. So what we've done here since our last presentation is we have shown our renderings, but see that shade? I don't know if you can see, there's a little shaded area there. That represents the 2.5 feet. That is not by right as far as this addition goes. And so the point that we were trying to make, and I think it's better illustrated here, is that it's really de minimis in terms of we think it's de minimis in terms of its impacts on the neighboring properties. And to the extent that there's concern about the project, other than this, it's all by right. And at least as far as the additional floor area goes. So we're happy to discuss this, and Matt Medvine, the applicant, get more into this, but this just illustrates really the part of this development that is, other than requesting the units, that is not by right. This is an overview of the penthouse and the small roof deck that we're proposing. This also requires a special exception. This is pretty de minimis as well, but we're happy to discuss it, and we don't think it has any impact on the neighbor, but we're again, this is something that we're here to discuss with the community. Here's something that I guess you could say is an alternative idea. We've heard some feedback that maybe we don't want to expand the facade directly up. Maybe it'd be better to set it back. Here's what a different idea might look like that would sort of set back that addition on the third level from the facade. We haven't really developed plans formally for this, but we just wanted to show it as an alternative and get feedback. I think we prefer the other. We think the other project just integrates a little bit better into the existing structure, but we're here to seek your feedback and your thoughts on that. And that's the end of my presentation.
Mm-hmm. So for the unit mix, you're saying 3 3-bedrooms and 2 1-bedrooms.
Correct.
And that for a total of 5 units, rather than 3 3-bedrooms and 1 2-bedroom.
Well, this is where I'd like to invite Mr. Madveen in to talk about what that might look like if we were to have different unit mix.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good evening, everybody. The alternative for the 3-unit mix instead of the 5 would be 3 3-bedroom units. They would just be at much higher price points because they'd be considerably larger units. You're taking what it is otherwise split between 5 units and now condensing them into just 3.
Yeah.
And it just pushes the price point up, as Clarence had kind of touched on.
And then no IZ at that point because you're under the 4. Okay. Okay.
And I guess piggybacking off the presentation that Zach put together and presented, the alternate he showed at the end was just us kind of fiddling around with some of the feedback we'd gotten from the zoning board or commission rather a couple weeks ago when we spoke and presented this project in the first place. We also know that we had gotten some concerns. We've been, sorry, I'm just realizing my video is not on. Apologize about that. We've been talking to the neighbors. We've spoken to, at this point, between my brother and I, at least 30 or 40 neighbors in 3 different directions, just because we're along West Virginia Avenue and facing Gallaudet. And we have currently gotten a majority of the response being that they're pretty neutral and not opposed. They're not super for it. They really don't feel strongly either way. So we're currently working on a letter that just so that we have something to document showing that we have done the outreach to kind of get them to sign saying that they're not for or against, trying to figure out a way to word that so it sounds a bit more positive than I don't care. But we have gotten a number of letters of support signed. We've gotten about 4 right now, and we've gotten about 7 that have signed but made notes on that support saying that they're not super for it. They're just not opposed and they don't mind it. We have been speaking directly to the direct neighbor that we're connected to. And to date, from our understanding, my brother's been the main point on that because he's currently living here and he's been living there for, I want to say about a year now. And he's been getting to know them and the conversations that he's had to date has been a concern with just their impact during construction, which obviously everyone has a concern about that. And it's completely understandable having lived through that ourselves several times. And, we'll be going through every effort we can to mitigate that impact, whether it's through the debris netting and just protection and daily cleanup, et cetera, and respecting work hours. But the other concern was that they didn't like the 2-foot addition beyond our 10-foot by right, which is why we went through the exercise to show that shading, to show that there really isn't much of a change in that impact to them by shaving that feet off or 2.5 feet off the rear. The main reason we care about that 2.5 feet is just because some people might know, it can get pretty tricky. It's like a jigsaw puzzle trying to get everything to work, and with stairs and clearances, that 2.5 feet really makes life a lot easier. But at the end of the day, if it's something that really is a sticking point that's that much of a concern, we can obviously backtrack on that, and we can build the other 98% of this massing that's by right. Again, if that's what works. Similarly, to address some of the concerns raised by some of the neighbors and also the zoning commission, was the mechanical units. We adjusted the layout such that we were able to put them on the roof. And as I think one of the earlier projects noted, there's some difficulty doing that just because you have to make it accessible to all units. So we actually went through the hurdle of kind of playing around and creating a specific public access to the roof, so that we can achieve this to eliminate the noise concerns and otherwise impacting the neighbors.
I have one more question, which is for the alternative design you showed, is that the same unit mix, the 3
Yes.
bedrooms and the 2 1-bedrooms? Okay.
Yes, it's the same. The only difference, that's the 5-unit mix. The only difference is on the 3rd floor, we just pulled the front facade back 3 feet.
And
Yeah, I was just going to say my initial reaction to that is that I thought the alternative was preferable.
Okay.
I did too, Commissioner Moore. And my only other question is also, as before, what would be the matter right rendering?
It would be, Zach, I guess if you could go back to showing your screen, it's the entire massing that's not shaded in green. So when he's going back to it, rather than showing 2 different pictures, we figured it was easier just to shade what was not by right, just so that you could kind of get a better sense of it.
So the alternative view is by right, or what?
Yes, it was. So if you look at this, everything except that little green sliver on the back end, everything else is by.
Was the 2 feet that you were talking about to get the
correct
mechanical on the roof? Because that has the mechanical on the roof for all the
correct
units.
Yes, and that's something that we had to play around with, and it was a give and take kind of thing. It's in order to fit that extra access to the roof and put all the mechanical units on the roof to get rid of that noise concern. We needed that extra space.
And then what is the product that you're going to use for the extension here? I'm sorry, you can't see me pointing, but the extension on the side, is that still the hardy plank? Or is that going to be brick as the rest of it?
So yeah, given that we weren't sure if we were going to get on this agenda, so apologize for kind of haphazardly throwing this together at the last minute. But the current plan is to have the brick facade on the front so that it's consistent all the way across the front.
Okay.
And on the side, rather than doing your typical lap siding that kind of looks like what this rendering shows, we would do something that might be a bit more like hardy panels, which are a bit, I'm trying to think of the right word to describe it, but more modern. We'd be open, to feedback on what people might prefer. We'd rather not do brick for that whole side, because it introduces a number of new challenges. It snowballs, creating a pretty increase in cost, not only in the brick, but also the structure, because you're adding a ton of weight, which just tumbles into a lot of other issues. But we'd be open to discussing what the neighborhood might prefer along that, whether it's the newer hardy panels or the more traditional hardy plank. We're open to anything, whatever.
And so, in the building is currently I know the building, but right now I can't recall. Is it painted yellow or is the brick yellow?
It's painted yellow.
It's painted yellow.
Yes.
Okay. So would you be maintaining that color, or would you be painting the whole building a different color? Haven't decided.
Yes, that is so. Yes, we can do either one. We're not particularly passionate about any particular color. Usually we'll ask someone that's better at picking pretty colors. I just get lucky if I dress myself properly in the morning. So I usually leave the colors to someone that's a bit more tasteful, whether that's my wife or the designer. Someone that's not me, to be honest with you.
Okay, so as Commissioner Moore said, this is still a 5-unit building at the alternative view.
Correct. Yes, it is.
Okay. So you would need still a special exception to go above 3 units.
Correct.
And the 2.5 feet at the back.
That would be yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have two questions in the Q&A. One, just briefly to Commissioner-elect Hoffman, IZ starts at 4 units. So the 3-unit version wouldn't meet the minimum for IZ. And then we have the adjacent neighbor, Corinne Durbin. She says, I'm the adjacent property owner, and I hear the developer and lawyer saying that 98% of the project is by right. Does this mean that ANC approval and support is not required? What about DCRA approval? Is it only the 2.5-foot extension in the green shading for which they must seek approval? Okay, and I would just say the DCRA approval is always going to be required. And then in terms of this project, it just depends on the special exceptions that they're asking for. ANCs are given great weight, but not necessarily requiring our approval in order for it to be done. So they consider our opinion.
But it would require our approval because going over the 3 units, no matter which way they go.
Right, right.
The second question, Commissioner Moore?
That was it.
Oh, I saw another one.
Oh, okay. Commissioner-elect Hoffman, I was asking about the plan for the 5 units. Why is it a 1-bedroom unit in IZ and not a family size unit?
Would you like me to?
Yes.
So it honestly boils down to just economics and the financial feasibility of the project. When you create an affordable unit, there are price caps on the selling point of those units. And the difference between a market rate family size and a market rate 1-bedroom versus their affordable counterparts is astronomical. It's well into the 6 figures to the point which it makes it impractical to pursue it altogether. Unfortunately, that's just at the end of the day, you need to be able to afford to do the project, and trying to do something with the family size affordableness in such a small unit mix like this, we don't have the ability to blend that cost down among, 10 plus units or whatnot. It's a financial issue.
Okay, that's all I see for questions. Is this just a presentation or are we voting?
Presentation.
Okay.
So we thank you, your new commissioner, Commissioner Hoffman. You have already been in contact, and we met with him the last time we met. So he will, he's on the line, correct?
Yes.
You have anything to say?
If you want to raise your hand so I can get to you quickly, if you have a comment. Okay. And yes, I see your hand. Go right ahead. If you'll unmute yourself so we can hear you.
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I saw the presentation once before with a couple of you guys, and definitely some things have been worked out here, but definitely trying to work with the adjoining neighbors and keeping their thoughts and concerns on the project, keeping them abreast of what's going on. I like some of the changes, and I really wish that one of the family size units would be IZ. I think that would be really fantastic, but you guys got to do what you got to do. But yeah, I think you explained it pretty well, and hopefully we'll hear more from the community and really get everybody's input and make sure that when we do vote on this, we have everybody's input going forward.
Okay, I guess could I ask, given that, is there any actual feedback on the design itself that we could take to kind of further improve this or meet some of the concerns or address any of the concerns of the community? Just that we don't want to waste the next couple of weeks we have leading up to this next meeting without being able to address any comments if we don't have any.
Well, I have a comment as a resident, since I'll be a resident. I prefer the alternative design. I like keeping the architectural element up the front, even though I know you added the side. I've seen the property, the one, I think it's on Moore Street, the other corner house, who did something. I mean, they added more balconies on the side instead of more house. But I would prefer the alternative design, especially since you're moving the air conditioning units to the roof. And that really was swayed my approval because of that. Because
Yes,
of
those were both things that the neighbors had mentioned, having the setback with that third level, and also keeping all of the AC condensers on the roof and not in the back. That would impact, 4 units on the ground would have been substantial. So I like both of those happening as well, kind of maintaining the facade.
Yeah, I also like the alternative design. And then we had a comment here from Kevin Horgan, who is the chair of the Zoning and Development Committee for ANC 5D. I wish you adopted an approach similar to the design for 1501 West Virginia Avenue Northeast that's under construction right now. So I'm sure you can see all of the design files in the case file.
Okay, we can look into those.
Okay.
Is that a 3-unit mix, or is that, I believe that's a 3-unit mix?
Kevin, if you just want to
I
answer.
believe it is a 3-unit mix.
And is he referring to the design, preferring to see 3 units, or is he talking just about the architectural aesthetics? The styling of the floor? Okay.
My comments relate not to the unit mix, it's the styling of the third floor, yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll look at that and we'll see if we can integrate that. And then again, we'll continue the outreach with the neighbors. Like I said, we've talked to almost everybody at this point, and it's just the immediate neighbor at this point that seems to be the only one that has an implicit concern. Again, well-founded, but we'll just have to try and work through the 2.5 foot. I guess taking feedback from you guys, just in your guys' opinion with this, if we were to shave the 2.5 feet off to address that concern, that would compromise the access for the units on the roof, which would put them back down. So at what point, is it something which is a bigger priority in your guys' opinion?
Well,
I personally, go ahead.
I was going to say, the neighbor did request party status. I just saw that come up this morning. Mm-hmm. So I really think that would be a direct concern with the neighbor and the Commissioner-elect Hoffman. By all means, you saw our opinion that everyone likes the units being on the roof. But I think you would have to deal with her directly so we could support the neighbor, what the neighbor wants. Commissioner Moore?
So I wanted to say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we have another comment in the Q&A from Kevin Horgan. I do have other concerns on the unit mix and the size, but I'd rather wait for nearby neighbors to weigh in.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was just going to remind the ANC that, there is a zero precedent for conversions of any RF1 row house into a 5-unit. Like there has not been, that conversion hasn't occurred. So this would set a precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we will take all of that in consideration, and because of the lateness of the hour, and because you're not due for a hearing until January, and you will work with Commissioner-elect Hoffman, we thank you for presenting. And we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, you're welcome. Now we have community feedback and questions.
Okay. So just a reminder to folks to use the raise hand or Q&A function.
And Commissioner Moore, I can get my video back up again once I finish eating my snack.
I didn't mean to put you on timeout, just being helpful. let me bring you back. Okay, you should have a request to restart video. Okay, I see a raised hand from Commissioner-elect Rhodes. And I'm coming to you now. Give it just a moment, and you should be able to speak now.
Okay, I just want to let everyone, all the commissioners, know that I appreciate all your help, your dedication, and commitment to Ward 5D. And I will enjoy coming in and continuing you guys' hard work. I just really appreciate everything that you all did.
Oh, well, thank you. But I look forward to working with you.
Yes.
We're lucky to have you.
Any more? There's a question in Q&A, Commissioner Moore.
I did see that from Josh Kramer. Thank you for your service, commissioners.
Well, you're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you for your help.
Well, given the lateness of the hour, commissioners, is anything you'd like to add? Commissioner Linhan?
I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the commissioners working together, providing a welcoming space for our constituents. I'm excited to be on the other side of this, back when we're in this meeting room. Excited that we were able to fight for the Crummell School. Hopefully we've caught some traction. Speed bumps, there's a little win there for Ivy City. But yeah, no, I'm honored and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to be commissioner here in DC and with each and every one of you as I see as a friend now. So thank you.
And Commissioner Shropshire.
Oh, let's see. Oh, I'm already muted. I thought I was muted. So I just want to say that it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the past 6 years as ANC Commissioner for 5D02. Throughout my tenure, I've still been able to do everything that I charted out to do from the beginning, which was educate, engage, and empower residents to understand how to navigate through the DC government and also to speak up and be a voice for themselves. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure, and I know that I'm leaving it in great hands and highly capable hands. So I want to thank all of you for working together, and I'm looking forward to being on the other side too, just like Ryan said. So I won't disappear into the neighborhood. I'll still be an advocate. I'll just be in a different role. So thanks.
And I also, as I leave also, and Commissioner Sharp remind you of 6 years, we started together. And we're ending together, and it's been a pleasure working with you the past 6 years, and my new commissioners, Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Linhan, and the old timer. She stepped away, Commissioner Blacknell, who is the senior commissioner of 5D. But it has been a pleasure, and we did accomplish a lot, and there's more to be accomplished. But basically, the biggest accomplishment I said is the unity of the commission. And that is really what I take away from this, that we're a unified unit, and we know how to disagree, and we know how to agree. So I've sort of taken away from the commissioner who's going to be here next month, because you will be here next month. But Commissioner Moore, since you're the only one left, if you have anything to say, as you
last woman standing, I guess.
Yes.
But I just want to say thank you to all of you, because I think you've all said it, and you're exactly right. It was so great to be part of a commission that was productive and got things done. And so thank you all for your service. It's a lot of hard work, and I just appreciate having had the opportunity to learn so many different things from each and every single one of you.
So with that, and since it's just Commissioner Moore who's left now, if you feel that we tricked you, so be it. We would say congratulations, and hope that, like you said, we will be assisting you and all the commissioners as they come on board January the 1st. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Actually, January 2nd.
January 2nd. Yeah. Well, I will be adjourning soon. But January 2nd is going to be virtual, so we'll all be able to, I know it's going to be virtual swearing in, so we'll all be able to participate and watch. Okay, so thank you, everyone, and Commissioner Shropshire will get those notices out for those BZA requests. That we'll get those out to the BZA, get them uploaded. Thank you. And we will be turning our keys in, Commissioner Moore. So
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I will add, since I'm here, all inventory is accounted for. It is locked up in the office space. So it's again been an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Hey.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Commissioner Shropshire.